You're not tired. You're not unlucky. You're not going through a phase. You're undisciplined, overstimulated, and addicted to a version of yourself that feels safe but keeps you small. Every day you wake up with potential in your chest and waste it scrolling, delaying, negotiating with weakness. And deep down, you know it. You feel it in those quiet moments when your mind whispers, this isn't who you're supposed to be. That voice isn't anxiety, it's truth. And right now, it's being suffocated by comfort. But here's the shift. 1 hour a day can rip you out of that identity. Not someday, not when you feel ready, starting now. Because transformation doesn't require your whole life. It requires a controlled, brutal, focused hour where your old self is not allowed to exist. Picture this. Two versions of you are living in the same body. One wants ease, distraction, cheap dopamine. The other wants power, control, respect. Most people feed the weak one all day and wonder why they feel empty. You're about to reverse that. 1 hour, every day. That's your battlefield. And in that hour, there are rules. No phone, no noise, no escape, no negotiation. Just you and the version of you that you've been avoiding. The first thing you need to understand is this. Your brain is not broken, it's trained. Every time you check your phone, every time you delay action, every time you choose comfort over challenge, you reinforce a neural pathway. Dopamine isn't your enemy, it's your trainer. And right now, it's been training you to be weak. You don't rise by motivation, you rise by rewiring. So when that hour starts, your brain will resist. It will beg, it will create fake urgency. Check this notification. Start tomorrow. You need rest. That's not you, that's withdrawal. And the moment you override that voice, something powerful happens. You send a signal, I'm back in control. At first it feels small, almost nothing, but that's how dominance begins. Quiet, controlled, consistent. Now listen carefully. This hour is not random effort. It's structured warfare against your old identity. The first phase is friction. You do something hard immediately. No warm up, no easing in. You go straight into discomfort. That could be intense focus work, physical exertion, or skill training. The point is not what you do, it's how you do it, with zero hesitation. Because hesitation is the crack where weakness enters. You train your brain to act before doubt forms. And here's where most people fail. They think discipline is about doing more. It's not. It's about obeying your own command instantly. The moment you decide, you move. No internal debate. That's how leaders think. That's how dominant individuals operate. Now, while you're in that hour, something else is happening beneath the surface. Your dopamine system is recalibrating. When you remove cheap stimulation and replace it with effort-based reward, your brain starts to associate satisfaction with progress, not distraction. That's when you become dangerous. Because now focus feels good. Now effort feels addictive. Now growth becomes your default state. But it gets deeper. You've been trained to avoid discomfort because your brain thinks discomfort equals danger. That's outdated wiring. In modern life, discomfort is the gateway to power. So during this hour, you lean into it. When your mind says, this is hard, you push harder. When your body wants to stop, you go further. You're not just building skill, you're building resistance to weakness. And that resistance becomes identity. You stop being someone who tries and become someone who executes. Now let's talk about procrastination. You don't procrastinate because you're lazy. You procrastinate because your brain is overwhelmed by unclear outcomes and instant gratification options. So in your hour, everything is defined. Clear target, clear action, clear finish, no ambiguity, because clarity kills procrastination. You know exactly what needs to be done, and you do it without thinking about the result. You focus on the action. And here's the twist. Confidence doesn't come before action. It comes after repeated proof. Every day you complete that hour, you build evidence. Small wins stack, and suddenly you walk differently. You speak differently, not because you're pretending, but because you've earned it. That's real confidence, not loud, not fake, controlled. Now your body language starts to shift. You don't avoid eye contact. You don't shrink in conversations. You don't rush your words because internally you know something others don't. You're doing what they won't. And people feel that. Dominance is not aggression, it's certainty. And certainty comes from discipline. Let's go deeper into control under pressure. Life doesn't test you when you're ready, it hits you when you're distracted, emotional, tired. And if you haven't trained your mind, you react instead of respond. So during your hour, you simulate pressure. You push when it's uncomfortable. You stay calm when your mind wants to panic. You control your breathing, your focus, your pace. You're building emotional armor. So when real pressure hits, arguments, competition, stress, you don't break. You stay grounded. That's power. Now think about your voice. Most people speak with hesitation, filler words, uncertainty. Why? Because they don't trust themselves. But when you consistently keep promises to yourself during that hour, something shifts. You stop questioning your words. You speak slower, sharper, cleaner, and people listen because authority is not in volume, it's in conviction. Now let's address fear. Fear isn't something you eliminate, it's something you train through. Every time you avoid something that scares you, you shrink your world. Every time you face it, you expand it. So inside your hour, you include one action that challenges your fear. It could be speaking, creating, pushing limits. You expose yourself deliberately, and over time, fear loses its grip because your brain learns this is not a threat, this is growth. Now let's talk about deep work. Most people can't focus for more than a few minutes. Their attention is fractured. And in a world where focus is rare, it becomes a superpower. So during your hour, you train uninterrupted focus, no switching, no multitasking, just one task, executed fully. At first, it feels impossible. Your mind wanders. You get restless, but stay because this is where transformation happens. You're stretching your cognitive endurance, and eventually you hit a state where time disappears. That's flow. And in flow, your output multiplies. Now, here's the realization most people never reach. Your life is not changed by what you do occasionally, it's changed by what you do daily without fail. 1 hour doesn't sound like much, but it compounds. Day 1 feels small, day 7 feels different. Day 30, you're not the same person. Your standards rise. Your tolerance for mediocrity drops. Your circle starts to feel different because you're no longer aligned with weakness. And here's where it becomes uncomfortable. Growth isolates, not because you're better, but because you're different. And most people will not understand your shift. They'll call you obsessed, extreme, too serious. Let them, because they're protecting their own comfort. You're building your future. Now imagine this version of you after 90 days. You wake up with intention. You move with precision. You don't wait for motivation. You act on command. Your body is sharper. Your mind is clearer. Your presence is stronger. And people notice, not because you tell them, but because they feel it. That's status, not given, built. Now here's the final truth. You don't need more time, you need more control. 1 hour a day is your entry point, but it's not just an hour. It's a message, a declaration that you're done being average, done being distracted, done being controlled by impulses. You're taking back command. And once you taste that level of control, you won't go back because weakness becomes unbearable and power becomes addictive. So tomorrow, when that hour comes, you'll feel resistance. Good. That means it's working. That means you're stepping out of your old identity. And in that moment, you have a choice. Repeat the cycle or break it. No one is coming to push you. No one is going to save your potential. It's you, 1 hour, every day, relentless, controlled, focused. You don't rise by chance. You rise by decision, and that decision is made in silence when no one is watching, when your old self is begging for comfort, and you say, no. That's where your new life begins. Say it without words, prove it with action, and don't stop, because the first layer was just awareness. That alone doesn't change you. Plenty of people know they're wasting their life and still do nothing. Knowledge without execution is just another form of distraction. Now we move into control. Right now, your biggest enemy isn't laziness, it's fragmentation. Your attention is shattered. You wake up and within minutes, your brain is hit with notifications, noise, opinions, short form content, artificial urgency. You're not thinking your thoughts anymore. You're reacting to everyone else's. That's why you feel scattered. That's why you start things and don't finish. That's why you can't sit still without reaching for stimulation. Your mind has been trained to escape effort, so the next level of your 1 hour system is simple but brutal. You rebuild your attention from zero. When that hour begins, you are not allowed to be distracted, not once, not for a second, and you'll fail at first. Your hand will reach for your phone without thinking. Your mind will drift. You'll feel restless, irritated, almost anxious. That's not weakness. That's withdrawal. Your brain is used to constant dopamine spikes, and now you're cutting off the supply. It reacts like an addict being denied a fix. This is where most people quit. Not because they can't do it, but because they misinterpret discomfort as a sign to stop. You won't. You'll sit in it. You'll work through it. And every time you bring your focus back, you're strengthening a circuit most people have completely destroyed. Focus is not something you have, it's something you train. Now, something interesting happens around the middle of that hour. If you don't quit, if you don't escape, your brain starts to settle. The noise fades. The urge to check your phone weakens. And for the first time in a long time, you experience pure, uninterrupted thought. That moment is rare and it's powerful because in that state, your brain operates differently. You process deeper, you connect ideas faster, you execute cleaner. That's where real work gets done. That's where you separate from everyone else. Now listen carefully. This is where identity starts to crack because your old self was built on distraction, short attention span, quick hits of pleasure, avoidance of discomfort, but this new version of you operates in silence, in focus, in control, and the two cannot coexist, so you're going to feel internal conflict. Part of you will try to pull you back. Just take a break. You've done enough. You deserve it. That voice sounds reasonable, but it's not your ally, it's your past trying to survive. And every time you ignore it, it gets weaker. Every time you obey it, it gets stronger. This is not about willpower. This is about identity warfare. Now let's sharpen your execution. Inside your hour, you don't just work, you attack. You move with urgency, but not chaos. Every action is intentional. Every movement is controlled. You eliminate wasted motion because wasted motion is wasted life. You don't overthink the perfect strategy. You execute the obvious next step immediately. That's how momentum is built. And momentum is everything. Because once you're moving, resistance decreases. But starting, that's where the battle is. So you remove the starting friction. You don't ask, do I feel like it? You don't wait for the perfect moment. You begin on command. That's discipline. Now we go even deeper. Your environment is either feeding your growth or feeding your weakness. There is no neutral. Look around you. Your room, your desk, your digital space, what do they signal? Chaos, distraction, comfort, or focus, clarity, control? Because your environment is shaping your behavior more than your motivation ever will. So during your transformation, you redesign it. You remove visual clutter. You eliminate easy distractions. You create a space where your default action is work, not escape. This isn't aesthetic. This is psychological warfare. You're making it easier to win. Now let's talk about your body, because your mind follows your physiology. If you move like you're tired, your brain believes you're weak. If you sit collapsed, breathe shallow, avoid eye contact, even when you're alone, you reinforce a low status identity. So during your hour, your body becomes part of the training. You sit upright, you breathe deep and controlled. Your movements are deliberate, even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching, because that's where identity is built. Now, here's a realization most people avoid. You don't lack time, you lack standards. If something truly mattered to you, you'd find the hour. But right now, comfort matters more, entertainment matters more, avoidance matters more. So this process forces a decision. Who are you really? Not who you say you are, not who you want to be, but who you prove yourself to be daily. And the answer is found in that hour. Now let's address emotional control, because discipline without emotional stability collapses under pressure. You can be focused in silence, but what happens when life hits? When someone disrespects you? When plans fall apart? When stress builds? Most people react, they get emotional, they lose control, and in that moment, they reveal their level. So we train that too. During your hour when frustration rises, you don't escape. You observe it. You control your breathing. You slow your reaction. You stay composed, because emotional control is a skill. And the more you practice it in small moments, the stronger it becomes in real ones. Eventually, things that used to trigger you don't. Not because you don't feel, but because you're in control. That's power. Now let's talk about something uncomfortable: comparison. You see other people winning, moving faster, achieving more, and part of you feels behind. Good, use it. Not as jealousy, as fuel, because competition sharpens you, but only if you respond correctly. You don't complain, you don't make excuses, you raise your standard, you close the gap through action, and that action happens in your hour. Every day you show up, you're narrowing the distance between who you are and who you respect. And eventually, you become that person. Now, here's where it escalates. Consistency creates identity. Identity creates reputation. Reputation creates power. But it all starts in private. No one sees your hour, no one applauds it, no one validates it, and that's exactly why it matters. Because you're not doing it for attention, you're doing it for transformation. Now imagine stacking this for weeks. You stop negotiating with yourself, you stop breaking promises, you stop living reactively, and something shifts. You trust yourself. That's rare. Most people don't. They say they'll do something, and they don't, over and over, and that destroys confidence. But you're reversing that pattern 1 hour at a time. Now your words mean something to yourself first. And that changes everything, because once you trust yourself, you become unstoppable. Now we're going to push further, because average effort creates average results. And that's not why you're here. So inside your hour, you don't aim to finish. You aim to dominate. You push past good enough. You go further than planned. You stretch your limits, because your limits are mostly artificial, set by past behavior, not actual capacity. And every time you exceed them, you redefine what's possible. Now your brain updates its expectations and your baseline rises. This is how elite performers think. They don't aim to survive the session, they aim to expand during it. Now let's bring in social dominance, because your internal work eventually shows externally. When you're disciplined, focused, controlled, you carry yourself differently. You don't seek approval, you don't chase validation, you don't over-explain, you speak with clarity, you listen with intent, and when you act, it's decisive. That creates presence, and presence commands respect. Not loudly, but naturally. People pick up on it. They can't always explain it, but they feel it. That's the energy of someone in control. Now here's the final layer for this phase. Ownership. No more blaming circumstances. No more waiting for the perfect setup. No more, I'll start when. You operate from full responsibility. Everything in your life is your problem to solve. And that mindset removes excuses because once you own it, you can change it. Now we're not done, not even close, because the next phase goes deeper into identity collapse, breaking the old version of you completely, building a new one with precision, and pushing you into a level of execution most people will never reach. But before that, understand this. If you can control 1 hour, you can control your life. And if you can't control 1 hour, nothing else you try will work. So the question is simple. When that hour comes again, will you step into it with authority or slip back into comfort? Because the answer to that question is the answer to your future. Stay ready. We go harder next. Stop scrolling. Start becoming. This is the motivational audiobook spot where weak habits get exposed and powerful identities are built. If you're tired of feeling behind, distracted, and stuck in the same cycle, this is your turning point. Listen, apply, execute. New elite level audiobooks dropping consistently to rewire your mindset, sharpen your discipline, and build real confidence. No fluff, no comfort, just transformation. Subscribe now, show up daily, earn your next version. Your next level is waiting, but it won't wait forever.